The thought is the quantum unit of our existence that makes us as human beings. So if we have bad thoughts and negative thoughts or sad thoughts, that will manifest on our body as a disease. So the thoughts and the disease are very connected together. So we are basically creating, without even knowing, our own diseases.
It's usually to do with some sort of emotional problem that's been blocked and not dealt with. And I've found that most people, and the thing is, especially women, we tend to block. Maybe I've got 3 children, I go out to work, I've got a house to take care of, a husband to take care of. And women particularly tend to sort of stuff their problems down into around here. And they think, oh, well, I'll deal with it later. And if you do that too much, you break down the chemical balance of the body and you become sick.
Disorganization of the biofields that organize all of our biochemical as well as cellular coherence in our body, that the biofields are more fundamental to the foundation of who we are and what we are. And those energy fields around us are, you'll see breakdowns in those areas that will precede any physical disease.
I believe that disease comes from an imbalance of frequencies in the body.
And on a deeper level, I think illness, as others have probably talked about, there's emotional and spiritual causes for disease too. And ultimately, I think we need to look at health and healing in a physical, emotional, and mental, spiritual realm as well. Feelings that I'm stuck with, so-called negative feelings, it helps me process the negative emotions from trauma, from sadness, from grief.
You became distracted because of certain things that got you distracted, like distraction, I would say myopia, farsightedness or nearsightedness. You have created that somehow yourself by some strain, things that you were not getting to see and wanted not to see or wanted to change, and then you hold on to this, but you can retrain that, recondition that.
I believe that a person has a responsibility to heal themselves. And they believe in going to the doctor. They should be under a doctor's care. But in my own life, I would use drugs or surgery as a last resort. And I would try the soft, gentle treatments, the natural treatments first, before resulting to drugs or surgery.
What I've found a very useful tool, if you like, is to just get somebody to close their eyes and talk to that part of their body and say, what is the message of this particular illness? What are you trying to tell me? And if they can allow information to come, then I get them to say, okay, now I understand the message. You do not need to give me that message any longer. And if they say that a few times, often the illness will go away.
Because I think that when you have a problem, doesn't matter which kind of problem is it, it's very important to say, this is my problem.
できるものとできないものとあり、できるものは例えば、少しのストレスであれば友達に話すとか、それからアロマを焚くとか、ゆっくりお風呂に浸かるとか。
Well, there is a illness we can cure and not cure.
I think that most of the time you need somebody to help you, because it's very hard to treat yourself. It's hard to see a lot of times the truths of where things lie, and it's really easy to fool ourselves and be under an illusion about certain things. But I think, yes, it's possible as well to be able to treat yourself. But I think you need some kind of outside help to do that. It's not something you're going to will yourself into. I think you need guidance. And you may need technologies. In our culture, we need technologies. In ancient cultures, you may have used other kinds of being in nature and being outdoors and having certain belief systems that can be altered that'll help you.
Well, if someone gets a little stress, then we can talk with friends, or we can use aroma.
例えば、いろんな人と話をして、違う人の考え方を聞いて、学んで自分で理解するとか。
And to get English understanding, meeting with other people, listening to other people's opinion.
まず最初に自分でできることを探そうとするはず。
Well, at first, it has to be starting to find by themselves.
So then, I have to face. I have to say, okay, I've been very soon stressed. Face it, put it on a piece of paper, and so I can start a healing process.
The soul experiences through the body the symptoms it most needs to learn something. And I'm not only learning myself through this experience, but what I'm experiencing is teaching everybody around me.
But I think that the must of the healing process is to think positive. What I mean when I'm talking about think positive is not only the thought. I mean that you really need to believe that is something positive in my life, or with this healing process, or with this illness. Perhaps this will tell me something. You can start there. And just small steps. And so you need to feel that it's inside my body. I believe these things. Then it's a positive thinking, a healing.
But if you are in a negative state and say, it always happens to me, and God hates me, and the world hates me, and that's why God, then you get an inflammation, and then it doesn't heal the natural way. So you make it even worse before it gets better because you're so negative. But if you say, I cut my finger, let's put it in the light, then 1 hour later it's fine, because you thought made it be better. I don't think that we consciously create negative thoughts to get ill. We don't even know that we are creating our negative feelings to become ill. So if we are not aware what caused the disease, we can't cure it without help. And people who help us, doctors, alternative doctors, they will guide us to the way to come out of the disease and the illness. But we have to want to come out. We have to want to be well.
でも、生きる力とか、自分が持てる、自分で自分をケアする力は基本的には絶対人にはあると思っている。
And the human being has power to live and energy to care themselves.
で、それでもダメな時には、何か自分でそれ以上なってはいけないっていうどこかで鐘が鳴るのね。
If it doesn't work, then there is a ring. You shouldn't go over.
そうすると、どこかその専門家のとこに行って話をしたり。
When at that time we go to the specialist.
I think there's a time and a place for professional care, and a time and a place for all of us to do self-care. It just depends on the level of health and well-being that a person has. I think with the ILA it would be important to make recommendations for the right type of artificial light sources, whether through the eyes or on the body. But then there's a time and a place that we all need professional healing, whether it's a doctor, whether it's an alternative medicine practitioner.
太陽が何よりものセラピストにまずなってくれるってことに気がついた。
She has found that the sun is the best therapist.
Every day-to-day self-care, things that each of us can do by exposing ourselves to the right amount of sunlight without creating danger for the eyes or the body. So that's the physical basis, that we need to have our body purified from the environmental toxins, the toxins in our air, our water, our food. It's the physical level. And of course, we need balanced nutrition for our biological needs, our constitution.
But I think it's very, very important to know that we are a part of a whole thing.
So any treatment that doesn't really address that is going to be an incomplete therapeutic approach.
Why I love using light is that I think light therapy, as a psychologist, it affects us physiologically. It changes when I put light in through the eyes. It changes my brain chemistry, changes my hormones. People would have spiritual experiences when they were looking at the light, doing talk therapy, talk psychology, talk psychotherapy. Suddenly a couple of my patients would go through these, what I would say, almost mystical, spiritual experiences. And the first time I saw that, I didn't know what to do. I was so incredulous, but I just sat back and allowed them to go through whatever they were experiencing in a safe and supported place in my office. I saw Jacob Lieberman in a town near where I was living in California at that time. And what I saw him sitting down with somebody, what I saw him do in 20 minutes of time working with colors that were evocative, I knew that if I was just talking to someone one-on-one without light, it would take me 6 months to get to the point he got in 20 minutes using light. So I said, I don't know how he did what he did, but I want to learn this. There was no system. It was very intuitive, and that's how Jacob worked as an optometrist. And then later, Steve Vasquez really sort of looked at it systematically. Try this color first, then depending on what's happening emotionally, use this color at this flash rate. And so a system gradually developed over time after, hundreds of people were seen in thousands of hours. So that's how I got into light.
The power of light, the power of color, the influence of all those things in our functioning. And I think to discover this is a great pleasure. And I'm always the one who's looking to apply it in, let's say, my business. Yeah, as a trainer, as a teacher, I'm looking for elements that can be applied for better learning, better teaching.
So I've been doing color therapy for 33 years, and I've been involved in the field of syntonics, which is the therapeutic application of colored frequencies into the eye, treating vision problems. Well, the way I work with light is we prescribe certain frequency, color combinations to treat various kinds of vision problems. And those range everything from problems that have to do with eye coordination, focusing, peripheral vision, depth perception, and problems that result from trauma, from brain injury.
光と色を使って基本的には心理カウンセリングに色と光を取り込みながらお話をして。
Well, the basic is psychology counseling using with light, color, and light.
When I attended the first ILA meetings that took place in the United States and in England, and then when that organization dissipated, there was an attempt to reformulate an International Light Association, and that's where it happened in Antwerp, and I was one of the founding members of that.
We can exchange lots of information, we can expand a lot of our views and sources of new knowledge. And it's been exactly that, actually. The ILA has been an extraordinary meeting point for the people around the planet working in this field, using light and colors for therapeutic purposes. And in that sense, it's been a very enriching experience, and it's still ongoing.
And I met Ernie Baker, who was the one who went all over the world to speak about light, and he was so fascinated about it, and he came to my office and he started speaking about light, influence of colored light and frequencies and so on. And I was fascinated, and I said, I want to know more about it. And from one came the other, and I learned more people who are now members of the association.
So right now it's very exciting to learn to know the specialists in different applications of light and have contact with them, and also all the information that they gather, because there's so much research done, there's so much being applied right now, and predominantly many of our members are into some sort of medical applications, besides also the architecture.
And then there were just everyday people who were interested in light who we invited too, because we wanted to make it open to not just health professionals, but everybody should know about light and how to use light for health and healing. So there's a way that we can use light, I think, for everybody. Light by its very nature is democratic. It should be used by every level of society, and whether it's professionally or self-care.
It turns out that there are many different forms of light therapy and different ways of working with the light. And so it was important that all of the light workers gather together and form an organization that would educate people and also support the light workers.
You have Horus for Egyptian, son of Isis and Osiris. But the great god for the sun is actually the sun disk is Ra. Ra represents the sun, while the bringer of the light is Horus. Horus is symbolized by a falcon, because such a falcon drops from very high where people cannot see, and drops in a speed of 350 kilometers an hour. This is the fastest moving animal on the planet. It symbolizes strongest what the light does coming from the sun to us. And in this is kind of like symbolic setting, what you would call then the light into our own body system. Horus is a symbol of all what it has to do with light, but also with sight, with vision. It has a whole measuring system within even the symbol of Horus. They have this nice created eye of Horus, which has all of this system in it, which is not linear. The similar structure you find in old Greek religion. The same kind of symbolism goes on in Apollo for the Roman, of course, but also for Christianity. You say actually the bringer, or the ones who became light for human being, was Jesus in Christianity. You see that throughout different cultures in the world. Even the eagle of United States, which is the only symbol they took from the Native Americans, with these arrows, with the holding, it's all the same. If you look the applications of this ancient knowledge, you see the meditations, but you see it today used still in this Hindu religion, in Christianity, in different kinds of religion. If you look at the teaching from which still exists of Surya, there is Surya Brahmas who can explain that, what they believe that happens, which is very similar to what we see happening when you shine a colored light with certain frequencies through our eyes, and the effects and benefits to our health. If your vision evolve, a child born does not come with a total registration of images and all that. So you first, as you go through life, you register images and forms, shapes and everything. You learn and you register that, and you can see because you have seen something before.